Hello, and welcome to another episode of TacoBytes, your daily bite of Degen, episode number 537, coming to you live from somewhere, nowhere, Texas. And we are live and in charge with Mark Shutt from the Texas Blockchain Council, and we want to bring him up. And first up, we want to thank you, Mark, so much for joining us today. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about this. Excited to bring some formal information to the Degen community because it's some important stuff that they need to be aware of for sure.
It is. I want to take a moment to quickly thank everyone on LinkedIn, Player One Taco, YouTube, 0xDegens YouTube, Twitch, Telegram, Discord, Kick, Rumble, and live on chain on Unlonely for joining us today. We are sorry, X and Twitter Spaces and Twitter Video, we actually got suspended today. This has never happened. So, yeah. But something big happened today, Mark, that made you put out a press release and made me respond right away. What happened?
Yeah, so basically the U.S. Energy Information Administration has initiated an emergency data collection initiative. And what this means is they're targeting Bitcoin mining operations in the U.S. So this involves a survey which requires the mining companies to actually disclose very private and extensive data about their operations. So this ranges from electricity consumption, the type of mining machines they use, and even hash rate information. So, to go a little bit deeper on that, the survey aims to create a detailed registry of mining operations across the country. And what this means is they really want to focus on energy demand. They want to focus on geographic areas of high growth and the sources of electricity used for mining. And so the initiative has been issued as an emergency collection by the White House. And there's been let's just say some concerns about its legality and the implications for the mining industry and even the broader like data center industry overall.
So I've, this comes from 2 points. One, there used to be the big bad wolf that Bitcoin mining was, the reason for world hunger and why, you know, babies were dying in
Right.
Antarctica and why we lost so much of our polar ice caps, and that's actually been proven inaccurate. And yet that narrative still stands, and I think because of the power of Bitcoin and how standard it is, it's really easy to estimate the power usage. We saw this, being sort of forced out of China, then being allowed back in. We've seen it forced out of other countries and then being brought back in. But Bitcoin mining in the United States has never really been an issue until now. Especially in Texas,
Yeah.
there's uh, what I know of a couple of the mining operations, they support infrastructure for power loads, and they're willing to buy power at a premium price, which then subsidizes it for everyone else. So what's the deal?
Well, totally agree with all the points you bring up, and it's clear that this survey is politically motivated. I mean, there's a big campaign against, anti-crypto, anti-Bitcoin mining. This is unfairly target to Bitcoin miners. And to your point about what miners do for the grid, they are actually the most flexible and responsive electrical loads in the nation. And that is again because of what you mentioned with their ability to buy at a premium and also their ability to rapidly adjust. So basically, when the grid needs more energy to be consumed, they will use more energy. When the grid needs less energy to be used, they will quickly shut off their data centers, which is uncomparable to anything else, right? Because other data centers, and let's just use oil and gas industry for an example, it takes a really long time for these plants or these centers to shut down versus Bitcoin miners. They're very flexible, they're very responsive, they're very quick. So they actually help the grid. And there's a massive misconception that they are hurting the grid. But to be completely frank with everybody, they're already one of the most transparent industries. So it makes us further question the necessity of such an invasive survey.
Okay. Now, we're going to deep dive into this a little bit, but who are you?
So my name is Mark Schutt, better known as Web3 Ready on Twitter. I started trading crypto back in 2018. I got involved with Bitcoin and Ethereum, started really diving deep into distributed ledger technology, and I was just kind of amazed at the fact that, somebody had made this technology, somebody or a group of people, who knows who it is, right? But I was just really impressed with the fact that, we're living in the modern era and somebody was able to crack this code. Long story short, I worked on a couple initiatives within Web3, doing different consulting and advocacy work, which kind of led me down to the Texas Blockchain Council. And now I help Lee Bratcher, the president of the company, run the operations and work alongside him as his right-hand man. And we're getting things done in Texas.
Yeah. Um, you made something funny when you were saying, to me funny, you were saying the who the creators is or isn't, and I just sort of thought of the most recent copa stuff that's going on in the crazy courts of London, where you have to
Yeah.
wear a wig. Craig Wright, oh man, do you
Oh,
think
man.
do you think he is Satoshi?
No, I do not. I think it's been proven over and over again he's not. I think he obviously had involvement. He was obviously a part of the core, couple of people who were there from the start. But I think, I love going down this rabbit hole. I think it's super interesting. I think the fact that we don't know who Satoshi is actually adds to the value of Bitcoin. But I think that it's practically impossible to know. I think a lot of people are calling on Hal Finney being the creator now, and especially with his. I read something just yesterday about how the ALS that he had actually caused him to go, rapidly release Bitcoin and all these different theories, right? But I do think that whoever was behind it was very intelligent, and it probably was, if it was one person, he or she had the help from a lot of people, and that person or group of people is probably dead now.
Okay. It is close to my heart that you said Hal Finney. One of my favorite wallets that I have is a Finney wallet.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, I definitely 100% agree that Craig Wright is not Satoshi. I think that it's sort of scary that he's trying to claim so closely to the Genesis wallet, and I don't think it takes away from the mystery, but I think it's one of those things that even if the court says we don't have enough proof to say you're not, and so they have to say, like, I think if I remember right, it's a case where they have to prove he isn't. If it's anything less than proof he isn't, then by court standards he sort of is, and then ipso de facto in the eyes of the UK legal system, I'm not sure of the legality worldwide on that he's recognized as the creator of Bitcoin. Or a Satoshi. It's not necessarily the creator of Bitcoin. It's the name and brand behind Satoshi. And that's sort of scary because then Bitcoin has a face.
For sure. I totally agree. And I think that's, what I was saying earlier is Bitcoin has more value because we don't know who the person is. We don't have this human aspect of greed, of pride, of ego behind whoever this person is or was. And the reality is it's like Satoshi almost did a public good by creating Bitcoin and by being anonymous, So I think it's better to keep it that way. And there's no way Craig Wright is Satoshi because just by the nature of the privacy that, and anonymity that Satoshi took, like, it's a complete 360 to go and do what Craig Wright is doing. So there's no way it's him, but that's my personal opinion. Others might disagree. I know it's a hot take, but I love going down this rabbit hole. It's really fun. I don't think we'll ever know who it is. And honestly, I think that's for the better.
I hope it's one of those things where I hope we don't ever find out.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it provides an important ethos to Bitcoin because you think of any Bitcoin maxi or any like Bitcoiner or anyone that just believes in DeFi, and if a court says Craig is Satoshi, I think everyone's just going to go, yeah, okay, cool. And I feel like Craig is taking away from his own contributions
for sure
that he's done. Like I feel my as far as the Bitcoin community goes, I feel that Craig had more weight and more power just being what was, standing by what he's done publicly. How he's contributed to BIPs, how he's been part of Bitcoin Core in his own right there, Wright has done it. And but I feel, and I was talking with someone smarter than me last night, I feel that it has nothing to do with crypto why he's doing this. I feel don't get me, like down this rabbit hole, but I think there might be like IP rights that he's after on this in a way.
Yeah, I think to your earlier point, he's definitely discrediting himself and his work, and he's kind of embarrassing himself, if anything. But the broader issue is what is he really after? Is it the fame? Is it the money? Like, does he want control over this thing? Who knows? I mean, I don't think in a court he will win ultimately. I mean, he's been fighting this thing for years, and I was listening to a podcast today, like they were talking about what kind of mental toll this must, have took on him. And I don't see the value as to, I guess if you're so delusional that you are not Satoshi, but you want to prove that you are, I guess there has to be some underlying value that's lighting this fire for you to keep going. But otherwise, it doesn't seem worth it,
Yeah. Or or in his defense, it's one of those things where he was or is, and he's just like he's like you've seen all of these movies where like someone like was accused of doing something and or that they were someone else with a different identity, and they're like, no, I'm this guy, and it's not until like the last minute that it's proven that they are right or something like that,
Right.
after like something tragic happens. And I don't know, but like you said, I think it takes more away from what he's contributed, his own weight.
Absolutely.
Unless he's at that point to where he's like, I'm dead, I'm dying, and I just want the world to actually know the truth or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't
That
seem
would
like
be,
that's the case though, right? Like he's not. I'm not aware that he's dying or he's gonna be off this earth anytime soon.
yeah, no, it's, but having been around like the likes of like Sailor, Bobby Lee, Turpin, you know, um, amazing, Spanos, amazing pillars, as I like to call them, um, getting yelled at repeatedly by Spanos, but in like a conversational way, is
Yeah.
pretty entertaining. Um,
Definitely. It's funny you brought this up because I was just watching documentaries on this last night. Like when I get bored, I just kind of watch, I always like to get more information about this because, again, I think it's one of those things that we'll never know. I think that's for the better, but I think it's so much fun just speculating on it and theorizing like who it is or who it was. Who knows? Maybe it was the CIA.
Well, like I like to say, the one good thing that came out of came out of the NSA is SHA
Yeah,
256.
for
The one
sure.
good thing.
For sure.
I was at Quantum Miami last year,
Okay.
and I was on was it I think it was Decrypt's Radio Jeopardy,
Yeah.
and I ended up winning an NFT for a DeLorean. I have not yet received this DeLorean NFT, but I was on stage and everything, and won it. And the final question was, what is the encryption algorithm used for Bitcoin? And I was like, SHA 256.
Yep. There you go. That's awesome.
But
I
but
remember that NFT being around during that time.
yeah, you know what I have right now from that event still?
What do you have?
I have an Ed McMahon sized check saying I won this NFT.
That's awesome. That's
Don't have
awesome.
the NFT yet, but I still have the Ed McMahon check.
Speaking of conferences, are you going to be in ETH Denver end of this month?
Yes, I am.
We'll have to link up.
Definitely. Man, okay, so I want to circle back a little bit. I put Texas Blockchain Council's Twitter into the chat. So for those that are on Twitch or on 0xDgens or Player One Taco YouTube, you guys can find them. For the algorithm, it is TXBLOCKCHAIN on Twitter. And we're gonna go over to do a little bit of a screen share piece here.
Okay.
One, so everyone can sort of see what your Twitter looks like. You're at the right over 7,000 followers, so people can find you guys and everything like that.
Yep.
How come you guys had to do an underscore after your Texas blockchain?
I think that was probably more of like just a technical thing, whether I didn't make it, so I can't for sure confirm anything, but I'm sure it was because like the username was taken or something. I mean, I think we'll probably change it here pretty soon.
Texas blockchain has it. Oh,
Yeah.
UT Austin.
UT
Woohoo!
Austin, yeah. So they have a blockchain organization. It's called Texas Blockchain, and that's a student-run organization they have within their school. They're close allies of ours as well. And funny enough, I actually started a very similar organization at my university in Dallas called Southern Methodist University. So I started the blockchain university or the blockchain organization there, and basically it was just a platform to get students educated, to learn about what Bitcoin, Web3, crypto, digital assets. So That's actually what led me to the Texas Blockchain Council, because we were exploring different partnership opportunities, and I came across the Texas Blockchain Council. They're very, very famous in Texas, for a lot of the legislative work we've done here. And then, long story short, here I am now.
Nice. Yeah. And I was supposed to be at the Texas Blockchain North American Conference that you guys held in Fort Worth, late last year. Unfortunately, I was at SmartCon and the SBF trial, so I wasn't able to go. How was the conference?
The conference was phenomenal. We had about 1,300 people there. We had different, very big name speakers like RFK, Vivek Ramaswamy, Ted Cruz, some killer industry players, including some of these miners who are being targeted right now and their CEOs. So the event was awesome. We held it in Fort Worth, had, again, 1,300 people. We did a workshop day on the first day for different industry verticals between accounting, traditional finance, lawyers, the list goes on. And then, that was really a way for a lot of these industry professionals to learn and kind of get educated how blockchain, how Bitcoin, how these technologies affect their industries and how they can adapt to it. And then we had an amazing show. We had a great turnout for both RFK and Vivek. Had a lot of interviews, a lot of senators there from all over the country, not just Texas, and it ended up being a great event.
All right, nice, awesome. I was able to send some other people there to sort of cover, and I'm glad it looked amazing, and not just you guys, but there was other blockchain associations there as well, and really sort of bringing like a conglomerate of the not I don't want to say institution, but more the regulatory side of things, and like trying to clean things up and wearing like nice shirts type of things.
For sure.
And I say that, but I don't mean it in a bad way.
No, for sure. I mean, we pride ourselves on that for sure. We're not, typical Web3 degeneracy, which is more of my wheelhouse before I got into this stuff. But this is definitely more suits and ties, more industry professionals, institutions, and really the reason that is because we do a lot of policy work, right? So we work with a lot of government officials and leaders in Congress, and they, we got to be presentable for them in a way where they understand. We need to speak their language. So we're definitely more on the suits and tie side of digital assets, but that's not to say that, we love everybody, and obviously everybody's included. And we had a lot of different communities within the conference, whether that was, Bitcoin communities, ETH communities, Polygon communities, Polkadot communities, Chainlink communities. So we had a couple of different blockchain communities there. And again, we're here really just to advocate for the industry and make sure that when the government is overreaching and overstepping, that there's somebody there to say, hey guys, like this is not okay. And it's also going to drive innovation away from the US, and we want to keep that here.
Yeah. And so I want to now go through the TBC statement. I'm actually want to read through part of it, the entire thing, because it's a short document, but I want to stop halfway through in different parts and sort of pull it apart and ask some questions so you can explain a little bit better
Please
on
do.
the meanings, and sort of like, for those that don't know later on what the actions really are and who the players are. So we posted the link. It's the TexasBlockchainCouncil.org in their blog. TBC statement on EIA and federal overreach. The following statement can be attributed to Lee Bratcher, board member and president at the Texas Blockchain Council, and Perry Ann Boring, founder and CEO of the Chamber of Digital Commerce. In response to the U.S. Energy Administration, Information Administration announcing an unprecedented information collection request from identified cryptocurrency mining companies operating in the United States. So who is the U.S. Energy Information Administration?
Well, that is a administration within the federal government. It's operated actually by the White House administration that I mentioned earlier. It's the Office of Management and Budget. So that is controlled by the federal government. This is, under the Biden administration. And to discuss what I was bringing up earlier, this survey is obviously politically motivated. And for many of your viewers who I'm sure they're aware of our best friend in crypto, Elizabeth Warren, this is probably a targeted, planned, attack by some of those members who are anti-crypto. And the reason we think that is because the survey specifically asked for detailed information from Bitcoin mining operations, and they're not asking these same things from other energy intensive industries, whether that's traditional finance, social media companies, or even AI companies, which we mentioned a little bit in the statement, and I'll expand on that. There was no public notice or comment period, and it's just concerning how the nature of this survey was, presented.
Yeah. Now, is there a limit on the size of the mining operation? Like, does this include if someone's just using one a CPU miner or, a little AutoPi miner? Are they included in this, or is there a minimum hash power or electrical unit use for this?
So don't quote me on this because I don't want to, spew any inaccurate information, but they did ask specific mining companies. I don't believe any individual miners, somebody who's running an ASIC in their garage will be, having to present this information, but it's more targeted at the bigger companies, some of the public companies, the big ones, and some of the private companies and smaller, businesses who are doing this. I don't remember the number exactly, but there was an exact number of companies that were targeted. I know at least 34 of the miners, at least, but I believe it's as high as 80.
All right. And so as we continue, the EIA's mandatory emergency survey of electricity consumption data represents the latest in a politically motivated campaign against Bitcoin mining, cryptocurrency, and US-led innovation. We believe this should cause concern for all industries that rely on data centers as part of their operations. Instead of focusing on improving our aging electricity infrastructure and working to ensure grid stability, the Department of Energy and EIA have prioritized taking unprecedented steps to target private businesses for political purposes. This action is an abuse of authority in order to further the Biden administration's public goal to limit or eliminate U.S. Bitcoin miners while pleading ignorance to U.S. miners' utilization of renewable resources and uniquely flexible operations. So it's sort of interesting because I remember something like this happened in New York, and there
Yeah.
was such an upheaval about it that when I was talking with the office of the governor's head of PR that was at a really cool fireside speech held by Coinbase, he said like everyone thought it was going to include all of these people, but really, if you like narrowed it down, it only was like for 2 mining operations.
Yeah.
And I was like, but you didn't make that clear. You tried to you tried to hide all of those numbers so everyone would just give you the data rather than like anyone, like, because the biggest thing that people are afraid of is a government hammer.
For sure.
And I remember there's a Bitcoin mining operation in New York. I wouldn't say it's a big one, but it's a spa. It's a Russian
Yep.
spa that uses miners' heat to heat its pools.
Yep. I've seen that. I think that's a really, really cool use case. I have yet to actually visit the spa, but that is definitely on the bucket list.
It is on my bucket list as well. I learned about it middle of last year, and when it made I think it was like just a post article or something like that, and I was reading the comments. Someone was like, "I don't want that dirty energy, that dirty heat," and I'm like, "You mean you just want them to heat the pool, and not like be doing like 2 uses with it?"
Yep.
And so we talked here about renewable energies. I know some of the use cases of renewables. What are some of the renewables that Bitcoin mining operations that are using?
Well, I think one really good example, I don't know if this would technically classify as renewables, but what Bitcoin miners have found is that oil and gas companies have natural waste, and what that is when these oil companies can't capture gas, what they do is they flare it off into the environment. And so basically companies now have found a way to take that wasted and stranded energy and convert it into energy that mines Bitcoin. So right from the bat, they're saving the environment by, instead of releasing this gas into the environment just as waste, they're now converting it into energy that's used for Bitcoin mining.
So are there other renewables being used, like geothermal, solar, and either hydro or wind?
That's a great question, and I am not aware of all the renewables in the industry, so I don't want to comment here and say something wrong. I know that the entire industry is definitely pushing towards renewables and trying to go in that direction as much as possible. Again, the industry is very transparent, and they are working as hard as they can to make sure that everything they do is open and helping not only the grid but also the environment.
Okay. So what are some of the things that this survey is asking for that might be considered private?
Well, they're asking for very specific information like the makeup of the actual mining machines, what ASICs they're using, the hash rate information, electricity consumption, providers of the electricity, percentage of electricity from each provider. And as you gather all this information, and if it went public, which is what they said they would do, you can quickly, find the prices and kind of the contracts that these different companies have, which is very private information, and that just completely destroys the free market, and it also just naturally hinders the innovation for the industry. And the worrisome part here is that they're not asking this of any other type of data centers, right? They're not asking the social media companies who have massive data centers. They're not asking the AI companies. So this could set a precedence for government overreach. And, we're concerned that they will misuse the sensitive data from our industry against legitimate businesses.
Okay. Now, well, let's continue with this. Thanks to Bitcoin miners' ability to rapidly adjust their data centers' power usage according to grid conditions, their operations are the most flexible and responsive electrical loads in the nation. It is well known that they offer critical grid stabilizing benefits to the communities in which they operate. These capabilities were on full display during recent periods of cold weather in Texas, which the EIA boldly cites in its justification for this misguided measure. If the stated justification for this emergency action, concern with data centers potentially overloading the grid, it is to be trusted, other industries such as financial institutions and social media companies should now also be on notice of this troubling new tactic. So this is something that you were just talking about, where different data centers, AWS, unlike mining operations that can shut down whole sections of their facility in minutes, because there's not a slashing like there is in proof of stake. They can just flip a switch and power down. But AWS can't. They turn off a couple servers, and people have lost access to their apps, their folders, their Google Drive. You know, what's what, and what is why are what are the other industries stepping up against this as well?
Not that I have personally seen, and I think a reason for that is because we're kind of the scapegoat. The government looks at the Bitcoin mining industry and continues to shoot arrows in their back, and I think that what we're trying to voice is the fact that if the government is doing this to the mining industry, they will continue to overreach and they will continue to apply this same method to other industries. Obviously, the big companies like Amazon and Microsoft and Google, Facebook, who host massive data centers, I think if they had a similar situation at hand, their response would be quite aggressive, and it would totally mandate some legal action behind it.
Okay. And so Bitcoin miners comprise one of the most transparent industries in the world. See the EIA website, hash rate index, Cambridge University, Texas A&M, ERCOT data. Moreover, each data center's development entails exhaustive investment, administrative, procurement, and constructive processes before they can begin operations. These facts belie the purported justification for this emergency mandate. So some of the things that you mentioned here within the hash rate index, Cambridge University, why do these matter?
Well, these are independent studies that aren't done by the companies within the industry, right? So these prove that despite what I might be telling you, because I am biased, I am in this industry, there are third parties who have studied this, including ERCOT, which is the electrical grid in Texas. Their data proves and shows exactly, the testament that I've been preaching this whole podcast.
Yeah. And
It's
so this
important
is
because
the in-depth analysis that we'll go over later on. But I wanted to sort of see, like, what is some of the moments that they're pushing in this that they're saying that they can't find themselves.
could you rephrase that? I'm trying to understand what you're
Yeah.
asking.
So if where we're saying Bitcoin miners are the most transparent industries, EIA is saying otherwise. Is this information that they could find out themselves, but they just want someone else to put it on one nice little piece of paper for them, and they don't want to do the legwork? Or is this stuff that is not as transparent as one might know, like you were saying, private contracts with electrical companies?
Yeah, well, some of this stuff is private for free market purposes, right? It's not because the industry has anything to hide, but it's more so because there are certain competitive advantages that one company might have over another, and that's not to say that they're doing anything shady. That's to say that they're practicing legitimate business, practices. And so the reason that they're requesting this stuff is because most of the information is already out there. However, it's anonymized. So it's basically a conglomerate. It's an aggregate of all the information of all the companies out there. So what they're asking, though, is very specific information to each company. And that's where the concern lies. The information is already, for the most part, out there. However, it's not designated to one company or this company, and they're asking for very, even more specific things. And funny enough, the only other country that has done this ever is Venezuela. And when they did that, shortly after, the government had taken over all of the mines and started mining for themselves. I'm not going to say that this is going to happen in America, because hopefully we have some common sense and some, justice systems in the courts. But the point that I'm trying to make is the overreach of the government, is that this information is widely already out there. However, it's not maybe as specific as the government would like. And that's mainly to protect these businesses to continue, practicing legitimate business practices.
Yeah. So as we finish this up, I do want to point out a typo in your press release.
Okay.
This letter A right here
This is an
should
attack.
not be there.
Okay.
This is, as we finish this off, this is an attack against a legitimate American businesses, with the administration feigning an emergency to score political points. The White House has been clear that they desire to limit or eliminate Bitcoin miners from operating in the United States. Although Bitcoin is resilient and cannot be banned, the administration is seeking to make the lives of Bitcoin miners, their employees, and their communities too difficult to bear operating in the United States. This is deeply concerning. We strongly believe the EIA has overstepped its authority in issuing this emergency mandate. We urge the Biden administration to reconsider this course of action. Until that time, we will be pursuing all legal recourses available to us. And I want to finish off with the one comment that is here from yesterday when you guys posted this. Bitcoin data centers are the best ESG technology on the planet.
I love the username on that one too.
Pleb,
Yeah.
yes.
What a perfect inline name for the crypto community.
Yeah, I love it. So I want to touch on that last piece there. We moved away from it.
No worries.
I want to. You guys are talking about you urging the Biden administration. What have you guys done to get this in front of the Biden administration?
Yeah, so there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes that I'm not necessarily allowed to talk about at the moment. This statement is one of the big things that we went public with, and over the next coming days and weeks, we will be going public with some more information.
Okay, so I don't know if you can answer this because I'm going to ask the same question in a different way. Have you sent this letter to any legislators, any senators, or congresspeople?
Yes.
Good. All right. Have you, on the call to action side from the public, what is it that you would like?
I think the biggest thing that I've always been about in this industry is education. I think it's important for people to understand that there's a lot of myths in the industry, and this is one of them, right? There's a lot of backfire and hatred towards Bitcoin mining, and that's just one vertical of the entire crypto and Web3 industry that gets a lot of heat. And so I think it's important for people to understand the data, to understand that a lot of this information is false. There's an agenda behind it. There's obviously political powers at play here that have a bigger purpose than actually caring about what Bitcoin miners are doing. Bitcoin miners, are helping the U.S. economy. They're helping the electrical grid. The more the government does this, the more these companies are going to go overseas. And as we've seen, when China has banned Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining, what happened? Well, these companies left. They came to America. They went to Europe. They went to other countries. But nonetheless, the industry is still thrives and it's still very alive in these places where maybe it's outlawed. So I think the best thing for people to do is educate themselves, join our cause, follow the Texas Blockchain Council on Twitter. Stay tuned. We will be announcing more news in the coming days. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to DM us on Twitter or DM me at web3_ready on Twitter. And we'd be more than happy to help you out.
Let's pull that up. Web3 ready.
Web3_ready.
Yeah, let's get that. So that way people have that.
Yep. Don't want to go to the wrong profile. That's for sure.
Yeah. Boom. All right. And so we'll post that there in the comments as well so people can get that later on.
Sounds great.
And so people can actually see what that looks like as well. That's a Clone X there, isn't that?
It is a Clone X, indeed.
Okay. All right. So you're
like I said, I have my degeneracy side of crypto as well.
So you're not just a Bitcoin laser-eyed maxi then.
That's why I didn't want to answer some of your questions about the renewables. I actually don't have a big background in Bitcoin mining at all. I started learning a lot more about Bitcoin mining as I got involved with the Texas Blockchain Council. So that's where my lack of knowledge might come from. And I don't want to quote any misinformation here, but the mining industry is really crucial. And I didn't really understand that until I started working at the Texas Blockchain Council. And this industry continues to thrive. They continue to offer a lot of value to all of Web3. And for those who are more on the degenerate side, it's definitely valuable to take some time to understand why, these companies are important and how they're helping not only U.S. economy, innovation, but also the grid.
Yeah. Now, so it's one of those things to where sometimes some people get this a little bit confused with like Bitcoin Association, Bitcoin councils. You guys are a blockchain council.
For sure. For sure.
And so I wouldn't, maybe you follow the same ethos as me as being chain agnostic. What's one of your favorite chains right now?
So I'm going to speak on my personal opinions. This is not
personal opinion
by the Texas Blockchain.
Financial advice.
I have always been privy to Ethereum. I've always just been more on the side of, Ethereum opened this gate of access that we didn't have before on the blockchain. Bitcoin is by far, the establishment body. It established blockchain. It established the entire ethos for every blockchain and for all of Web3 to exist. But I think Ethereum opened doors on another level with, the creation of dApps and smart contracts. Why did I say dApps? dApps and smart contracts and, I think that Ethereum has always been my favorite. Are there definitely concerns over it? For sure. But, Bitcoin and Ethereum are always going to be my personal favorite.
Yeah. So then, outside of Ethereum, what are your thoughts on L2s then and stuff?
I think L2s are super effective. I think they solve an issue that Ethereum cannot solve, which is cheap fees and faster transaction times. I think Ethereum has always struggled with that. And who wants it? I think it's really hard for a normal person to conceptualize the use of blockchain when you tell them everything they do on it, they have to pay a fee. And that fee increases over time. Sometimes it decreases. And typically it's you're spending a good chunk of change, and I think L2s solve that problem, and Ethereum can be used as a security layer while L2s can be used for everything else.
So where do you see the future of like monolithic chains, or even the L1 powers that be? Do you see them merging into EVM compatibility and interoperability, or do you see them running their own consensus algorithms to sort of different chains for different things?
Yeah, I think it's hard to tell, right? I think everybody has this vision of blockchain. Every blockchain is perfect, and there's like 1,000 of them, and there's a new one probably every day. But I think the reality is that a lot of this will eventually be consolidated. I think we're going to need some interoperability for the blockchain ecosystem to really succeed. I think Bitcoin will probably be used as gold is used. It'll be used as a store of value, and people will use that ledger just as normal transactions. And then you get to Ethereum and people start using that for not just store of value and currency transactions, but for all different types of use cases. So I can't say that I believe that there will be a bunch of different blockchains for a bunch of different things, but I think that there needs to be a foundational technology like Ethereum and like Bitcoin that kind of lead the path and allow for interoperability between other blockchains that enable things that Bitcoin and Ethereum might not enable.
All right. Yeah, no. I like that take. And one we can never forget about Polkadot.
No, Polkadot. I like Polkadot. I do like Polkadot. They were at the Texas Blockchain Summit, or the North American Blockchain Summit now. We have a pretty good community here in Texas with Polkadot, and I'm a big fan personally.
Okay, then hot take Solana.
They just had another, stop in the blockchain. I don't believe in that. If the blockchain is pausing, like something is wrong with the underlying tech, because the blockchain should be working by itself without interruption. Bitcoin has been working since 2009, and the creator of it has been gone since what, 2010, 2014, something like that.
But how
And
many forks of it that have we had, and how many upgrades to the Bitcoin core have we had?
for sure, but I think those things are absolutely necessary. Just like when a new video game comes out, just like when a new software comes out, the companies of these softwares or video games aren't going to know every single bug and every single problem. The way they find it is because they make it public, the users use it, and one person might encounter this problem, the next person might encounter a different problem, and that's what makes it beautiful, is that once the problem is encountered, we fix it. Now, with Bitcoin, is it always been fixed properly? Probably not. And a lot of people, will fork and try to create new things, and I think that's where there's a lot of concern. But I think if you work on a consensus basis, where blockchain has, foundationally been from the start, it's always been about consensus and a proof of work mechanism. I think if you get the whole chain to agree, then it makes sense to do whatever that update might be or whatever the improvement might be on the chain.
Yeah, no, and my one take on that, my hot take on that, just like you said, games have patches and updates. Solana has patches and updates, and it's still on beta.
Yeah.
And the chain doesn't actually pause, it just slows down so much that people think it stopped. So it can actually catch up on all of the transactions of spam because it's so cheap on the transaction fees.
And this is where it goes back to education, right? If I wasn't even aware of that. So it's like, if people don't take the time, including myself, to learn about these things, you get these preconceived misconceptions where you might think Solana is overvalued or it's not a good blockchain, when in reality there's something happening behind the scenes that me or other individuals might not understand, right? So big advocate of education, and the more you know, the better you are. So I'll end on that.
Education is awesome, and that's why I hopped on responding to the press release so quickly. And thank you for taking the time to respond so quickly. And
Absolutely.
I think we planned this out an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, this was awesome, though. Thank you for having me, and I'd be more than happy to come on whenever. And hopefully, we'll link up in Texas pretty soon here.
Definitely, and ETH Denver, we'll see each other.
See you in Denver.
So I end this show the same way as I've ended 536 episodes so far. Final thoughts and words and wisdom, and the best, worst knock knock joke on the face of the planet that I've told 536 times. So, Mark, since you are on stage, thank you so much for joining us from the Texas Blockchain Council. Final thoughts and words of wisdom, 30 seconds, go.
Just educate yourself, spend time really learning what blockchain technology is, how it works. If you're not a geek like me, you still need to know the technicalities behind it, because it makes everything else make that much more sense.
Definitely. Mark, thank you so much. And as always, my words of wisdom and final thoughts are always the same. A closed mouth cannot be fed, and you cannot feed a closed mouth, meaning if no one knows you're looking for opportunity, opportunity can never come a knocking. If opportunity does come knocking and no one answers, it's going to keep on walking. With that, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight on TacoBytes, your daily bite of Degen, episode 537. Shout out to LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Kick, Rumble, Unlonely, and Telegram. And with this, we get to end with the greatest, worst knock knock joke on the face of the planet in honor of those that come before us and those that come after us. Mark, are you ready for this?
I'm not, honestly.
I will get you ready. Knock knock.
Who's there?